Morning. Okay. Uh, anyway, good morning again. So we're working on the business of wisdom. So the talk title for today is, what is it? Are we wise, really? Well, the brief answer to that is, of course, we all are. So I'm going to tell you why I say that. When we consider, when I looked up what wisdom is, it's, like kind of taking your past experience, your education, etc., and applying that to the circumstance and making the decision in front of you. So it's pretty basic, but to me, that kind of fell short. And I think that's accurate. I think it's accurate. That's what we all do. Again, I think it falls short, and I'll say why in a minute. But we all learn things as we go through life. We learn how to do things. We learn how to relate to people. We learn how to accomplish things. And so when a new challenge is presented in front of us, we take that past experience and our own personal experience, how it was for us, and we apply it to the set of circumstances in front of us. And it's useful, and it makes a difference. And it's helpful, and it's a good guide for us. And often, our friends ask us, how'd you do that? And we tell them, and it's helpful. But there are some people that seem to have some other kind of answer for us. They seem to be able to tap into something that's a little more than just the circumstances in life. And that's what I consider far more important. So we have things that go on here on planet Earth that we deal with as human beings. And as a reminder, we're like, there's two parts of us. There's the human part, and then there's the spirit part. I want to talk a little bit more about that because we tend not to think about that too much. If we're talking about spirit or God, we tend to think of that aspect of life as separate from us. That it's, I was raised Catholic, and honestly, for me, when I was in school, God was way off somewhere in the clouds, and if I behaved really well, then he would bless me with something. Well, there were days when I did and days when I didn't, so I figured I got his blessings, and sometimes I didn't. Okay. And sometimes it didn't seem to matter how good I was. I didn't get the blessing I wanted. So I have come to look, why I'm here at this particular home of truth, at this particular church, is because when I came here, the conversation about who God or Spirit was went so clunk for me. It was like the answer I'd been looking for my whole life, from the time I was a kid, because I was questioning Catholicism since when I was a kid, about the age of these young ladies here. So when I realized that the universe is uncomprehendibly huge, we cannot even think and hold how vast the universe is. I don't care how many numbers they tell you or how many stars that the astronomers tell you. I don't care what is said about the universe. It's hard to get. And it's hard for them to get, even though they've done all this study. It's huge. We don't have a word big enough. But that universe is happening all the time. The stars are in the sky. The planets are doing their thing all the time. It's never not happening. So here we are, planet Earth, part of that universe. We're a tiny little speck in that vast universe. Tiny, tiny, tiny. In the hugeness of the universe, we are like a grain of sand, planet Earth. Okay, so here we are on planet Earth, and it's happening. You notice that? Like today, the clouds happened. We didn't do anything to have that happen. Fall is upon us. Next weekend, we will be in what we call fall, and the weather changes. And it happens every year, whether we want it to or not. Whether we like it or not. In different parts of the country, it shows up differently, but it's happening. And for those, here you have children. So you notice when children, they start off, all of us did, as babies, and they do all these things. And I was reflecting on it earlier and saying to my husband, boy, when they're tiny, when you're living through it, and they're tiny and they're so small that they just lay still somewhere, those are the easy days, although it doesn't feel like it as a new mom or dad. But those are the easy days, because as they grow, their concerns and issues and problems grow with them. So my kids are in their 50s, so trust me, they're very, very different. Now, as they grow, you don't have to do anything to get them to roll over. They roll over on their own. They sit up on their own. They crawl on their own. There's nothing has to be done for you as a parent to teach them to do that, and nobody taught them how to walk. They got up and walked, and we cheered. I mean, you dads, I'm sure you cheered when each of your children took their first step, right? But you didn't have to do anything. None of you. All of them did it on their own, and all of us did it on our own. We each also have a body that is operating steadily right now, going all kinds of synapses, all kinds of charges. The blood in our veins, our breathing, our heart beating is all happening on its own. We're not doing one thing to make it happen. Not one thing. You and I are sitting here, or I'm standing, but we're here, and all of this is happening. So, what's having that happen? What is causing that? There's something that's animating us. There is something that's causing all this to happen. And that energy, that intelligence, that power is what we call God or Spirit. That's all it is. And guess what? It's not out there anywhere. It's right here. I am the Rita Reneaux version of Spirit. That's the Marilyn Flower version of Spirit. That's the Alicia version of Spirit. That's the Jeff version. We are all like flowers. You know, you put a rose garden out there. There are some that look very similar to each other, but if you look at them closely, they're very unique. Then there's the different kinds of roses, and there's different kinds of flowers. Everything is an expression of God or Spirit. How cool is that? When you live life looking at life that way, all of everything looks very different, feels very different, takes on a new dimension. So when it comes to wisdom, we are all imbued with the same wisdom. That is to say, we all have the same aspect of Spirit within us, kind of rushing through us, animating us. It is Spirit that has me move has all of this happen. It's not me. Something is allowing my body to do that, and that is the intelligence, that is the power of Spirit. And that is where real wisdom comes from. Because I've been accused of saying, it's actually simple. Well, it is simple. The more you are able to connect to Spirit, the more your wisdom starts to blossom within you. And then, somebody asks you a question, and you say a simple little thing, and somehow or other it alters their whole life. Because Spirit is within each one of us. And Spirit is in a ways of expressing it here as a human being. Joy, peace, love, creativity, inspiration, wisdom, all of that, compassion, integrity, all of that is an expression of Spirit. The stuff that's not an expression of Spirit is hate, distrust, animosity, discontent, upset. All of that stuff is when we're separate from Spirit. So it's our job, really, as far as I can tell, our job is to get us in sync with Spirit as much as possible. Then, when it comes to being wise, you can draw on Spirit and have that energy inform your actions and inform your conversation. So part of what it is in being wise is really looking at a bigger picture. So Spirit is not concerned with the tiny details of life, whether you get that parking spot or how much the groceries cost or whether I should get gas today. All those are circumstances that you and I as human beings have to deal with. But when it comes to operating from our inherent wisdom, or when it comes to giving wisdom to another person or guiding them in some kind of way, checking in with yourself, being centered, using your heart, getting in sync with your heart is where your wisdom lies for you and for them. And that's where you want to go when you want to bring wisdom to someone else. So usually you'll find yourself quite naturally, to tell you the truth, when you're in sync with Spirit, wisdom arises naturally in you and you see a bigger picture. I mean, I can tell you to look for a bigger picture, and you can do that. But the most sincere, most profound wisdom that you can offer yourself or anyone else is being connected to Spirit and allowing spirit to guide you. So that may take some work. Like we all know, coming here regularly is one way of doing that, because you have this time, this hour in the week, where you get in that space of love and compassion and peace and that energy, and it brings you back to that glorious space within yourself, that space of comfort and warmth and at homeness, because you're in sync with the energy of spirit. That's where you are. That's when you're most at home. And then it helps you move out into the world. So meditation helps with that, or whatever kind of music returns you to your heart. Walking in nature, I find all I have to do is go sit in nature somewhere. And oh my word, it's like being here. It's a tabernacle, because there's nothing but me and the birds and the trees and the water and the grass or whatever. And I do it as much as I can, and it is so soothing. Bathing, this like forest bathing, I know you've heard of that. So, so the more that you can return yourself to that place, the wiser you become for yourself and others. So it could be on one of these posters, one of these banners, like trust, compassion, unity, joy, peace, love. All of those are expressions of spirit, and so is wisdom. So yes, we are each wise. We all are. We're magnificent because we are an expression of spirit. And when we let ourselves connect there, when we let ourselves go there, and we let ourselves live from there, oh, boy, you show up with your friends, you're like the wisest person on earth. I'm going to tell you one little wise thing that I think I did. Okay, you ready? You either will or you won't think so. But you know, I'm very engaged in this political election, doing miscellaneous things. And then, you know, Spirit kept saying to me, landslide, landslide, landslide. So I sent out an email to a bunch of friends and said, let's cause a landslide. Let's cause a landslide. I happen to be, you may not be, but I happen to be on the side of Kamala Harris, so I want a landslide for her. Now, you may not be, and that's fine, you can landslide for Trump. But it hit me, because I was paying attention, and trust me, I tried to ignore it. But I kept getting this push. It kept coming up. Send an email, landslide. So that, among the other things that I'm doing, that was one thing that I did, was I sent out an email to a variety of friends. So please forward it. So what I wanted was, sorry if you're voting for Trump, but what I wanted to have happen was that it was so obvious that she won that we didn't have the kind of mess that we had the last time. So I wanted it to so surpass all of the numbers of the previous election that the squabbling about it wouldn't happen, just because we don't need any more of that. So that's me applying my connection to spirit to planet Earth here. So now if you happen to be somebody who wants to vote for Kamala and you want to create a landslide with me, go right ahead. I'm happy to have partners. But all I'm saying, though, is that it took a connection and paying attention. I think we have this happen all the time, that we have urges that don't necessarily make sense in the moment. We have urges that Spirit's pushing us to express our wisdom, and we don't have the time. It sounds funny. What are they going to think if I say that? However, that's your wisdom pushing you to express yourself. So I urge you to do what you can to pay attention to that, so that you feel, I can tell you, I felt great once I did it. It just felt like the thing I had to do. And the nice part about it is, when you operate from there, the noise in your head about what other people think just tends to go away. It just goes away, because it's unimportant. You're expressing spirit. And what I have also found, it's usually well received. So I got some chatter about what do people think, but once it's done, it's not what I thought. It didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to, or it might. That all the negativity didn't actually happen. So I invite you to do all you can to express the wisdom within you by connecting with Spirit. And if coming here every Sunday is a way to do that, you are more than welcome, and we'd be happy to have you. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for your wisdom that brought you here today. We are blessed. So let us pray. Thank you for this glorious day. Sunny or not, it's still a glorious day. Thank you for the opportunity that we have in every moment to express our brilliance and our wisdom. Thank you for our awareness to know that we can tap into this at any moment, and that we are blessed enough to know that. And we are living this life as a demonstration of spirit. And we are blessed to know that as well and to be carrying that forward. Amen. Blessed be, and so it is.